It's
All right, so this week we're going to talk about Brian De Palma's 1981 cult classic Blowout, starring John Travolta. This was his follow-up to Dress to Kill, 1980, which starred Michael Caine. It was a little bit of a departure from his usual works, and this is his next film. And it was definitely a departure for Travolta because he had done like Saturday Night Fever and Grease and even Boy in the Plastic Bubble, and now he was doing like more of a thriller, and definitely one of Brian De Palma's best works, which we'll get to in the director's echelon top five. Green, talk to me about Blowout.
it's my favorite John Travolta movie ever. That includes Pulp Fiction, and I know he's awesome in that, but he is
Nah, it's
amazing
good.
in this. Um, and like you said, quite a departure from Vinnie Barbarino and Mr. Cotter and Saturday Night Fever and all that good stuff. He's pretty awesome in this. Serious role, not very much comic delivery at all. Like he doesn't he plays it pretty straight the whole way through, and I don't know, he's good in it, man. It's compelling. He's actually probably like the reason I come back to this movie so
Oh, no
much.
doubt.
But yeah, it's one of my favorites. It's a pretty cool movie. And it's let's talk about the score a little bit because like
All right.
the score is insane. It's
As are all De Palma scores.
yeah, it's basically its own character. And it, it if you haven't seen the movie, and by the way, I'll just say this for all of our podcasts. This is kind of like the running disclaimer. This came
Right.
out in 1981. Like there are no spoilers because it came out in 81. So if you haven't
Right.
seen it, go watch it, and then come back to the podcast. But we're going to talk about the movie ending, beginning, all of the good stuff. So, but the score is wild. It's almost overbearing. Um, but I don't know. Like maybe the first time I watched it, it was a little grating. But like
Right.
as I've watched it again and again, it's I like the score better every time I watch it, just because
Sure.
it definitely tips off the action.
Right. No, I would agree, and I also think that the whole just sound in general is important in this movie. I mean, obviously Travolta's main character plays a sound engineer, and he's like does sound for movies, and the whole thing starts because he's out collecting sounds. And I'll tell you, when I first saw this movie, I remember vividly like that scene of him out with that skinny ass microphone. I was like, "What's Bob Barker doing out in the woods?" And he's got that skinny ass microphone, and
Mike.
he's like just turning around. That owl's like doo 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 doo, you know and it just, yeah, and the way he just slowly like well, also because I'm a fan of the conversation, like any kind of like sketchy espionage with like hidden mics is right up my alley. So like I was hooked, and it was
Yeah.
Travolta. I was like, wait a minute, the guy that disco danced is now spying on something. Like I am in. And so it just set the tone, and it just takes off from there. Now a lot of people are detractors of Nancy Allen, but you got to remember that they were like De Palma was married to her at the time they did Dress to Kill in this movie.
Yep.
So who else was he gonna fucking cast? You're gonna get what you get with her. It's kind of like when Steven Spielberg was married to Kate Capshaw, and you had to put up with her ass in the Temple of Doom, even though I love Temple of Doom. That's
Well, I know Travolta, like actually from acting with her and Carrie,
right.
and he had such a good experience with Nancy Allen in that movie that he lobbied De Palma to put her in this movie. And De
And
Palma was like,
blowout,
"Hey,
yeah.
man, everyone's going to say she's my wife," and it's like, "Well, because she is," but like he's like, "You got to put her in there because she's awesome." So like really, like she's probably in there because John Travolta wanted her in there the
Right, more
most,
than De Palma.
the most anyone.
Sure,
But
sure.
I was going to say about the with the skinny Mike stuff. Part of like one of the reasons I like this movie too is the beginning of it. Well, not the very beginning of it because that's the De Palma movie within a movie trope where
Right.
he's like what is this movie? Is this a serial killer movie? And then
He does the same thing in Body Double
yeah, he does it all the
all
time.
the time.
And there's just gratuitous nudity that's unnecessary,
Right.
totally in line with 1981.
Right
But
on.
but when he gets to the Travolta part, and that part where he does like the close up of the owl,
Oh,
or
it's just
like
creepy.
just like a spanning shot to like get like to kind of follow the sound. So
Right.
he's like trying to like follow the sound with the picture and everything. It's pretty sweet actually. Like when like I started to like break that down a little bit in my head, I was like, this is awesome. Like how he's trying to deliver this scene here, but
Right.
I don't know.
He makes you feel like you're at that park.
Yeah,
That's what it
yeah,
made me
you
feel
do,
like.
you
You
do,
make you feel like you're
you
standing there like with that frog on that bridge, like just hanging out with Travolta because it's like deathly quiet except for just the sounds he's recording. And I think that makes it pretty unique. I mean, well, and then it quickly goes from intriguing and unique to what the hell's going on here because then we meet, Dennis Franz, of course, from most of you lay people know him from NYPD Blue. But Dennis Franz is like the conspirator with Nancy Allen on this whole gig, and John Lithgow, of all people, shows up and starts killing people, and the movie just takes a giant turn in Act Two, which is all for the better. Don't mind us, but I love De Palma in that way, and then it can be like one movie in the first act, another movie in the second act, and in the third act he kind of blends the two together with a thread, which I think most directors do not do. He did it in The Untouchables. He did it
mm,
in Scarface. He did it in Dress to Kill. And I don't know, it's just very unique about him. Like there's like three movies going on, but somehow they all go together. So in the second act, we start seeing why this which he captures this wreck, this auto accident, and here's a shot and thinks that the tire was blown out, hence the title, but also an ode to blow up. Blah blah blah. We'll get to that later. And for the longest time, you don't know if it was somebody that actually shot someone in the car or that the tire was blown out on purpose. And there's just I don't know, it just goes on and on into intrigue on that. But after you get out of that, that whole scene seems like a separate movie. And then it just takes off into the world of like New York City and just strangeness,
yeah.
So you wanna go ahead to the part where Lithgow starts the sex lanes and we'll get to talking about
Yeah.
all the good stuff here.
Yeah, well, after Travolta pulls Nancy Allen out of the car, and you figure out like, oh, she was not his wife, and
Yep.
that was like a senator, and
Yep.
so there's all this other stuff,
As
and then
Dudley Moore would say, is she a hooker?
it's, and Arthur's on our list, so we
I
might get to
love it.
that movie eventually. But yeah, like when he pulls her out and then goes to the hospital and then starts to figure out that there's more going on here than just him saving somebody, and people are smoking in the hospital.
Oh, it's so great.
He gets up, lights a cigarette, walks through the hospital. No one tells him to put it out because there's ashtrays in the hospital to put it out in. So it's like I like like I love like letting you know where that era really
Time frame.
is
Yep.
yeah, that time era, that it's a little bit of a
It's
time warp.
true.
And
But
and it's just crazy, but like yeah, like it goes immediately into this like really hectic high pace, let's figure out this mystery, away from this like slower pace, like shot by shot, very close
right.
up stuff, like you said, like you feel like you're in the park. And then like all of a sudden you're scrambling all around. And then John Lithgow is ridiculous. Like his character is like a hired hand to like kill people, and he starts going off the path of like what they want, and he's just like, I don't care. He's like, here's
He's like, I'm crazy.
he's like, I'm sorry I messed that up. My solution is I'm going to kill a lot more people, and I'm going to do it as like a psycho serial killer, and with some sex slangs, and you're just like, that's this doesn't feel like on the fly or made up. Like
Yeah,
this
no.
feels like very much like you have this inside you.
He's
Um,
like,
like
this isn't Peyton Manning calling Omaha.
yeah, yeah. This
This
is
is
not an
much
audible.
bigger. It's
Yeah,
much
this is
bigger.
I
Come
always
on,
thought
man.
that in the movie where he's just like, you know what? Here's my quick thinking plan. Um, sex slangs.
Dude,
You're like, wait, what?
he was Mr. Joshua before Mr. Joshua. You know, I'm sorry, Ode to Busey.
Yeah,
But
it's
but what's sort okay, so here's how they become about. So it turns out that Nancy Allen's character really is like conspiring with creepy Dennis Franz and some sleazebag in a hotel to like basically extort money from someone, right? The senator to get these photos. And then it turns into they can't control it because John Lithgow has gone rogue and out of control. So what we thought was just like, okay, let's save this girl is now, well, wait a minute, this girl's involved with a guy who hired a henchman, aka Lithgow, aka Raising Cane, aka her third rock from the Lithgow, aka anyway.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway. Um and it just turns into like this like basically like high-paced thriller. I mean, sure, there's a political thread through it, but no one cares about Senator whatever his name is. All we care about is
Right. Like we don't even care.
Lithgow versus Travolta versus Allen, and you're so we get through that second act of the whole plot about why this is happening, and then we get to the train station, and holy fucking shit, dude.
That's a classic.
When De Palma gets a setting
Exactly.
like that, Green, it's like, okay, it's on. So let's
Yeah.
talk about the train station.
Yeah, well, exactly. Like you said, like all of a sudden, like Nancy Allen's gonna run away or get out of town or something, and she's gonna go to the train station, and Travolta's gonna go there and try to like convince her to not go,
Right.
because I think he's kind of falling in love with her, but also just feeling protective of her. They don't really develop that,
No, right. I
but
agree.
like, but they, but yes, to your point, train station, and Brian De Palma's like, I've been waiting this whole
Yep.
movie to get
It's
to this
like
point.
finally.
He's like, I love this place. There's so much, there's so much misdirection he can play with, and like weird angles,
And I
and
remember the
it,
clicking heels. Like when he shoots that
oh
whole scene, you just hear the
yes,
clicking of the boots and the heels in on that cement floor,
yep,
and it's painstaking, dude. You just feel like, oh my God, it's if I
yeah.
hear one more heel, I'm gonna tense up.
Well, it's got that. It's like that natural clock happening,
It
and
is.
and he does that to like stoke the tension, right? Like,
I know. It's
and
crazy.
it's like,
So
and there's that, and like, and then it just goes wild. It goes into some like bubbly prostitute trying to pick up more dudes in the train station, and
yep.
unfortunately, she, you know, picks up
AKA sail
Lithgow.
a bunch of sailors.
Yep.
And Lithgow's like, nope, sex lanes.
He's just like, nope. And
He's like, look.
and the way he kills her,
Oh,
and the shot that De Palma chooses, which is like an above shot
yep. Into the
over the
stall.
stalls where he's like strangling her, is
It's awesome.
it's awesome. It's hard to watch, and
It
it's
is, but that's the first time I remember thinking, like, oh my God, is this what you learn in film school? Like, this is badass. Like
well,
movies are art, bro.
because he shows the feet of the prostitute like dangling and like
Yeah,
still kicking and stuff, and then they
right.
stop kicking, and yeah, and it's conveying that whole message, and like from the above you're like, gee whiz, and then like at the scene you're like, man, this is pretty dark,
It's
and
very
then
dark.
it goes from that immediately back into like high paced, like run around car
Yep,
chase,
the whole nine.
like the very ending of it, which is sad and everything, but like, yeah, like you said, like the clicking of the heels in the train station is
Vintage.
very, it's like, it is like, that's the classic De Palma piece where I'm like, man, this is like that De Palma magic that other directors could try to film the same scene, and
Wouldn't work.
they're not gonna get it.
Nope.
They're not gonna get me
And I
amped
think
up like that. Like it is compelling.
it is. No, I agree. And I mean, even though people, the ending, whatever you say about the ending, fine, but like I'm behind it. And to me, the ending doesn't make or break the movie. Like, for
Yeah,
example, when I left Fight Club, I didn't really care about, was that about blowing up credit card companies or bad dreams? I don't know. But what I know is I was shaken to my core. You know what I'm saying? So like I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
getting done with Blowout and being like, I don't remember if John Lithgow beheaded himself, shot Nancy Allen, or made love to Travolta. All I know is I love that movie.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like
Like
whatever
what?
happened happened.
Well, well, it's another classic piece of De Palma too, where he has the fireworks going
Oh,
off
like distorting what's
during
happening.
a killing.
Yes.
Like here's a
Yes.
celebration happening while there's a tragedy also taking place, and
Right.
like that's like very
The
Shakespearean.
juxtaposition.
Yeah, it's very like Shakespearean of De Palma
I
to be
agree.
like here's both of these things happening, and the tragic part of like of Travolta getting there right as Lithgow's like stabbing the character
Right.
or choking her,
Right. Right.
and he ends up having him stab himself.
It's yeah, it's bizarre. But
It
it's cool
like
because you see it's at the top of that building and like you said, the whole like celebration below, nightmare above type thing is it's pretty badass.
oh yeah, yeah, and that whole sequence, it's in slow motion. It's a slow motion chase scene.
But Travolta, I mean, De
It's
Palma loves that
amazing.
shit.
It's just amazing. Like he does well because he in
It's just
the
like the baby. It's just like when the baby
ex,
carriage goes down
yep,
the staircase.
exactly. I was just gonna say in the Untouchables where he's like,
He's
I
like,
got him. Like yeah, like that's but that whole scene happening in slow motion, yeah, it amps up the tension, even though it's like fast paced.
I agree.
I think like I don't know if he hit upon that in Blowout or if he had done that in previous films. I'd have to go back and like watch, but
Yeah,
he
Carrie, he did a little bit. I think towards the end, the pig's blood scene, there was some slow mo involved.
yeah, there's some slow mo
Um,
in it.
and when she like got her telekinetic powers, I think he slowed things down. But I remember it more prevalently in Dress to Kill. Like the walk through the art museum in the
Mm.
first half hour of the movie, like all one long shot, and like there was a lot of slow motion. Well, maybe I'm wrong, but I think there was some slow motion. But no, he's the master of slow mo, and like to me, like he was also one of the last people that was able to do movies like this and movies like Carrie and movies like Sisters, but also do Mission Impossible. Like it's pretty impressive that he can. I mean, the only other person I know that can do that kind of that I like that can do that fluently is Ridley Scott or Tony or Ridley Scott. Pick one. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe I would even throw in maybe Fincher maybe
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. David Fincher. He can
because
do all. He can do all.
he's done some like Aaron Brock or no that's not Soderbergh but like he did like the Social Network and then he's
Yes.
done like seven. You're just
Yes.
like oh
Dude, how about
uh
Zodiac? We could do a whole episode of that scene
love that movie.
he goes, Jake Gyllenhaal goes to the guy that played Roger, that did the voice for Roger Rabbit's basement with all the video, the film, and you're just like, get the fuck
Uh,
out of there. That's the goddamn Zodiac.
I know
What are you
that's
doing?
there are so many heart racing like please don't do that scenes in Zodiac like please don't go in there.
Yep. It's like, but
But
do it.
that especially when he goes in the house and is like
Oh,
he's like I got to go in the basement and
he's
you're
like,
just
come
like
on
don't
down.
like please don't
Don't do it.
don't.
It's like, look at that guy. He clearly is not right.
This guy's been smarter than everybody forever. Like please don't do this.
Anyway, no, but it's a brilliant movie, and I think it's definitely. I agree. It's definitely in if I had to make a top three Travolta list, which sounds kind of weird to say out loud, but this would definitely be in the top three, if not one, depending on the season, interchangeably. Um, I gotta say, I'm a guilty fan of Swordfish, so
Mm.
there's that too. But
Uh, I'm huge, massive fan of Look Who's Talking, so that's
oh,
definitely
that's
going
see, Kirstie Alley was still
straight.
good looking then.
One, Look Who's Talking. Two, Blowout. Three, Pulp Fiction.
Offbeat.
Four, Vinny Barbarino. Um,
Vinny Barbarino. Oh, not phenomenon.
Michael.
Mike
Where is
phenomenon.
he's like an angel, right? In
Yeah.
Michael.
Oh no, what was that movie where the kid Powder? powder. Dude, no.
It's like go back in the
Fuck
basement,
that.
I guess.
It's like,
Hang out in the basement again.
fuck
Don't do it.
that.
Like live.
Anyway,
Like don't come
so all
out.
right, so this is something we'll incorporate into many of our episodes, but as we're gonna do with each film, we're gonna give you our top five, and in order, the first thing we're gonna start with is the creep factor. Jason, for me, creep factor on this super high.
Really high.
I
Yeah.
mean, skyrocketing. It's
Yep.
like inflation right now. Um, from the beginning, you feel like you're in that park into some sleazy world of God knows what, dude. And you run into, like I said, Dennis France, John Lithgow, Nancy Allen, Travolta, that creepy guy that works the movie studio that's always smoking and eating donuts. Everybody, all of them.
That's the
And
guy making the
the
slasher flick
porn,
at the
yeah,
at the
exactly.
front of the
And
movie.
it's super high. So I'd have to say for me, definitely like above 4 out of 5 creep factor. What about you?
Yeah, yeah, I would say like 4.5 out of 5,
I'm
and
with you.
that's like and we haven't officially graced the rating list yet, but that's probably like Francis Dollar Hyde from from Manhunter.
It is. It's high.
We're creeping in on that.
Yeah.
It's
Whereas
very high.
like a three would be, for example, to our listeners, a three would be like Ron Silver from Blue Steel. Okay. And then we work up to Gum. And then we go to
Yeah,
Doll.
France. Yep, yep.
Dude,
James Gum.
Ron Silver in Blue Steel is
Yeah,
insane.
he is insane in that. It,
So, but just so people know what we're talking about. If you don't know who Francis Dollarhide is, we'll talk about that as we sneak our next flick. All right, Green, I'll let you start this one. Director Echelon, where's it sit for you?
uh, as out of all of DePalma's stuff,
It's
this
rough. There's
is
so much good stuff.
he's got a ton of
I
stuff, right?
know. I know.
He's got a ton of good stuff, but this is definitely top five, top
Yeah.
three. I mean, when I think Brian De Palma, I think of this. I think of like Carrie. I think of Sisters, and I think of like The Untouchables. Like he's
I agree.
And Raising Cain.
Oh,
But like there's so
Hickory
many
Dock.
you can just keep going. But yeah, this is definitely top five.
I
Brian De
agree.
Palma.
The only other movie I would put him in my top five. I mean, I gotta admit, I'm guilty. Dress to Kill is my favorite, but I'm
Oh,
in the
Dress to Kill.
minority.
Yeah, yeah. Can't
I'm in
believe
the
I left that
minority
out.
there, but this is right up there. If a very close 1B. I'm also a huge fan of Carlito's Way,
Ooh,
which
yeah.
ironically didn't get a lot of publicity, but Sean Penn in that movie with that afro, like puts it in the top five for me. But definitely in his top five. If I had to do a top five to Palm, it'd be Dress to Kill, Blowout, um, Carlito's Way, probably The Fury. Dude, that
Mm,
movie is
I love that movie.
insane. And then either
Martin Sheen.
Untouchable, and then probably Scarface before Untouchables, just for me,
Mm,
because Pacino. But yeah, you think about it, there's a lot of slow motion in Carlito's Way too. Now that I
yeah.
think about the De Palma effect.
Well,
All right.
there's some weird stuff happening in Sisters too. There's a lot of slow motion,
Oh,
but there's a lot of just straight up gore and
yes.
large knives and stabbing and,
And
and
Margot Kidder's
uh,
a preview of Margot Kidder's life. All right, side players. It is side players. As we talked about, John Lithgow, dude, stole the show from me.
yep.
As the side player, as the assassin or the henchman gone rogue. So if side player for me, just his performance alone, I got to give it a 4.2 out of 5.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, and Dennis Franz, like you said, sleazy, and then the next words out of your mouth was Dennis Franz, and that's, I mean, he he somehow makes an already creepy and sleazy movie
Yeah.
feel even seedier and
Yes.
dirtier and gross, and you're like, this dude's awesome.
He looks like yeah, I love it.
Yeah, yeah, like
He,
he's
he
probably
looks like a can of spaghettios, basically, the whole movie, but it works.
yeah,
It
yeah,
works.
he's like he should be like Burt Young, right? Like you could
Oh,
see like a Burt
so
Young
good.
in that. But
So
like
good.
but yeah, I would say he's probably like a four, a solid four for me,
I love and he
and I
only
love him
plays
that
one character in all his movies, Green, but you know what? He's damn good at it. All
he's
right.
a scene stealer. Yeah.
We that one scene we already talked about. For you, you mentioned the overhead stall strangulation scene. For me, it's
Hmm.
the first 10 minutes where he's just at that park at dark with that skinny ass microphone. Like, if because if the movie doesn't start like that for me, I don't get engrossed in the rest of the movie. So
Oh
for
yeah,
and I agree that the overhead stall scene is amazing, but it happened later in the movie. So when we talk about that one scene on this podcast, we're talking about the scene that hooked us in and was like, dude, yes, give me more of this shit.
yeah,
That's what we're talking about. For
yeah.
you, is it the same or different? I would
Um,
imagine the same.
yeah, I like that. I like that scene. I like the scene too where he's um makes the flip book.
Oh, that
So
is sweet.
where he's taking like
That is sweet.
he's
Good call.
taking photography and then he's like doing all of it to put it into like a film, and then he takes a film of the flip book film to add to his already existing audio that he got in the scene that you're talking about.
Right,
So
right, right. That's good.
um
That's a great call. I kind of forgot about that scene, which is a shame. It's a
but
damn shame.
the flip book though is pretty sweet, and yeah man, like and this movie has tons of stuff like that though, like
It
there's like
does.
little stuff like that all the way through it. So
Yeah,
um
it's that leads us to trust rating on this out of 5. When I talk blowout, I'm talking 4.8, dog. It's high.
oh yeah, yeah, that's a solid call. 4.8. Yeah, I'm one
It's
with that
high.
too.
So
It's
our
a
top 5 will always kind of be that creep factor, director's echelon, thickies and side players, that one scene, and our overall trust rating. Green, next week we're going to talk about Manhunter, Michael Mann's 1986 follow-up to Thief, starring William Peterson and various other Hollywood players. And I think that's going to be amazing and a good follow-up to Blowout.
yep.
Any parting words from you, sir?
Well, shout out the Thief, because that movie's awesome too.
Shout out
That's
to
a
Burry.
Burry,
Where you at?
coming on, our producer, uh,
Burry, the
unofficial.
producer.
And yeah, thanks for joining us. And we got a lot more in the chamber for you. So we've got Manhunter and we've got some other movies coming down. List them now, but we'll talk about them soon.
Don't
And
forget to don't forget to smash that subscribe button.
yep,
Smash it.
smash it, like,
Smash that
uh,
subscribe and like.
we'll be posting this on all of our socials. So YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We've got all that good stuff. Check us out. We're at lostcopypodcast.com. Again, I'm Jason Green. This is my
Gopp.
co-host, Andy Gopp. And thanks for joining us.
Blowout. We out. Peace.